Production design is no joke, and I want to learn all about it. Today I'm talking with someone who knows the triumphs and the anguish of exactly that here on The Fly Filmmaking.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Fly Filmmaking, and this week we're talking to production designer Gary Kordan, like Jordan.
That's me, yes.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. It's your first time at Popcorn Talk, isn't it?
I'm not leaving. Plus, I got popcorn.
Yes, you asked for popcorn. He made a joke saying there's no popcorn at Popcorn Talk, and it came in moments.
And it's really good, too.
Good. It's from one of those like really classic like movie popcorn machines. Awesome. So tell everyone where they can find you on social media. I believe Instagram is your favorite. It's my favorite,
I believe
too.
that Instagram has now become my favorite.
Yes.
Twitter makes me very sad.
Okay.
And I don't know why. Like, I just, you know.
I think we know why.
Yeah. But I found that the community, anytime anyone says to me, oh, where can I reach you? I just say, like, send me a message on Instagram because I find that artists sharing their work and me sharing my work visually without politics or any drama attached to it is the best part of my day and a great way to communicate with people.
Yeah, I feel like Instagram is generally more positive all around because you're just sharing beautiful things.
Sharing your art, sharing your food, and sharing your vacations.
Things that make you happy.
Making people jealous.
Awesome. So you can find Gary at Gary Kordan on Instagram and Twitter, but find him on Instagram because he prefers that.
And my website's there too.
Yes.
Just hanging out. People have websites still, right?
Yes, they still have websites.
Okay.
And I'm Mary Lou Mandel. You can find me all over the internet at Mary Lou Mandel, and I will also post a recap of today's episode on my website, maryloumandel.com, so make sure you check that out.
Oh,
look at us.
studio audience. Hey, look at everybody.
Oh my gosh,
Great.
guys, thank
Good
you so
looking,
much.
too.
Awesome. So we're talking to you about production design. You have worked on all sorts of shows, like Downward Dog.
Yes.
I recently started watching Adorable, Workaholics, Key and Peele, and then Ghosted is something that's coming out.
Coming up this year.
Yes. So,
October 1st.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what a production designer is.
A production designer is the person who is usually the second or third person hired on the crew. And at that point, there is a script that's 30 pages long or 60 pages long, however long it is. And inside that script, there are probably 30 or 40 scenes. And those scenes say interior room, interior bar, interior house, interior basement. That's it.
And the rest is up to you.
And I'm handed that script and told to envision and create and come up with this world. So, for example, I could tell you on Key and Peele, we would start the season and I'd be handed a binder with 86 sketches in it and being told that we would be shooting it in 7 weeks. So we would do 2 a day, 10 a week, week after week after week until they were finished. So my first thing that I would do is hire my team. And my team has been with me forever. We're like family. So it's art directors, set decorators, graphic designers, all those people. We come up with the research. We come up with drawings and renders. We get the producers involved, the line producers who are in charge of the money involved. We start putting the world together, building the world, and setting it up on stage or location. And it's shot. And then it's struck, and it goes back in trucks, it goes back in the mill, it gets thrown in the garbage, you know, when it's really sad that you have to do that. And then we do that day after day after day. So when you watch a movie or TV show and you see 37 scenes, so those are 37 sets that the art department had to conceive, get approved, build on time, and have on your screen.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
So it's crazy.
It's so fascinating, and that's something that we talk about here on the Fly Filmmaking, is just to let everyone know in production, in creating films or television, your web series, anything like that, there's so many pieces. It's not just the actor, it's not just the story. There's so many things, and it's good for everyone to understand, if you're producing content, to learn a little bit about everything.
And you also don't have to have it all on your shoulder. If you're producing content, whether you're a network like Amazon or ABC, or you're a web content person, you know someone who's great at hair, that someone that's good at makeup, someone that is artistic and can pull something together for you. Reach out to those people, but treat them with the respect of having a meeting, bringing some pizzas to that meeting, making sure they have a call sheet, making sure there's food on the day, because you probably can't pay them a lot of money, but if you supply them with some good food and say, well, pizza slows people down, though.
It slows them down, but it's cheap and effective.
Right, but it makes
other
people
options.
feel special, and they do a great job for you, so you don't have to carry the burden of your project on your shoulders, which I don't do either. I mean, people say, what is a production designer? Really, a production designer is someone who comes up with crazy ideas and draws them on paper, but has a crew of 30 to 70 people that are building it, dressing it, striking it, painting it. So I'm just really a department head who leads a crazy team of artists that build all the sets for TV shows.
Yeah, so much of creation in all sorts is a collaborative effort. So
Absolutely.
be good to your people, work together. You don't have to do it all.
I could go on and on about. We could do a whole other show on be good to your people.
Be good to your people. That's
Yeah.
that's a side episode
Yeah.
that we'll do. So as far as production design or art department, how does somebody get into that field?
Well, I think that it's a good question because I didn't know that it actually existed as a job when I was a teenager or in my early 20s. So I was in high school and even younger, drawing all the time, really interested in art, wearing black clothing, listening to crazy music. My friends were sort of on the fringes. Do you know what I mean? And I always thought like, well, I don't want a real job when I grow up. And then you have your parents and people like that telling you, well, you have to get a real job. And so I went to art school because that's what you do. And I'm in art school and I'm studying fine arts and illustration. And there was a class that was canceled one day, and it was on a bulletin board while I was walking around, an advertisement for internships at CBS. And at that moment, I had that click of like, wait a second, I'm not interested in a real job. I'm into the arts. I have opinions. I can work in television. And that job was at the Joan Rivers show, and I got the internship. Joan and I immediately hit it off, and like 2 weeks into it, she's like, you're the kid from the art school. You should be in the art department.
Yes.
So to answer your question, if you want to get into it, do it. Tell people what you want to do. I want to work in film and television. Reach out to anyone you can, whether it's online or sending someone an email through IMDb or their website, and say, I'm a kid who wants to be in film and television, and you may not even belong in the art department. So I tell people, get a job as a PA on any project that you can. Doesn't matter if it's a student film or a commercial or a music video, be a PA. And that day, do the best job you can, be on time, but also observe every single person on the crew and say, who do I want to be in 5 years? Do I want to be the cinematographer? Do I want to be the producer? Do I want to be the writer? Do I want to be art department? And gravitate towards that and try to like make an impression on those people. And you may not belong in the art department. You know, you may belong in costumes. You know what I mean? Like it's artistic, but a different direction.
Totally.
So the way to get into it is to decide that you're going to get into it and be ready to work 60 or 70 hours a week and be ready to work for free or work for like $50 a day and not grumble about that, because $50, like when I started that first job at the Joan Rivers show, I made $325 a week before taxes, and it was 60 hours a week, and I commuted into New York City, and like, you know, you want to die, but that's the foundation.
Yes.
For meeting the people and understanding where you fit into the industry, that then leads to being a department head and a production designer.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful advice, and that's a common theme from talking to other production people, is that in film, if you want to work in film, you don't know everything that you can do because you don't see all the pieces until you get in there. So I think it's really great advice to start as a PA, learn everything.
Or an intern.
Or
You know,
intern.
the truth of the matter is that a lot of people that are in my crew today that are department heads are people that started as an intern or a PA, and then they became a art department coordinator, then they became a buyer, then they became a set decorator, then they became an art director, and then they became a production designer. And that takes 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, you never know, but that's the foundation that you have to do, because you can't just jump in and assume that you know everything, because there's too much to know.
It's too much to know.
And by the way, I don't know everything, but I'm lucky enough to have a strong crew around me that what I don't know, they know.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Wonderful, wonderful advice.
Oh, cool.
I love that. And that is something that we've heard from like the VFX guys that we talked to last week, and like lots of people in production, and myself included. Like when I first moved to LA, I was an extra, and you do your job as the extra, because I couldn't get in as a PA because I didn't go to film school, and all the the PA jobs were going to the film school kids. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go be an extra, and just learned a little bit about what everyone was. And they're like, what's this girl doing? And I'm like asking the lighting guy. I was like, what is that thing?
Yeah.
And they're like, a Kino flow?
Yeah. Oh, and you're interested? Oh, well, you
Yeah.
should talk to the producer, because we're hiring PAs on our next project.
Exactly.
You know, that's the other dirty secret that probably people don't want to hear. But the fact is, you don't have to go to college.
No.
The truth is, if you should go to college if you really want that experience, and maybe you're getting tons and tons of pressure from your family or your peers. But the truth is, if you're feeling like, I love making videos at home, I have my own rig, I edit them, I put them up on YouTube, I put them up on Vimeo, people seem to like them, the truth is that you may be sidelined in a way by stepping back and going into the college system, and you may be better off by just starting to call yourself a producer or calling yourself a director, calling yourself a production designer, and doing it. So what I tell people is, if you're going to move to LA and you think you're the coolest person in your hometown and you're the filmmaker and everybody knows you as, like, you know, Martin Scorsese or Tim Burton, that's great. You should move here and do that. But at the same time, you should be a PA on a real job, making $10 an hour and working 70 hours a week, so that on that set, you're the cool young PA who is a filmmaker, who's doing their own thing, who's making stuff happen. But at the same time, you're showing people that are on real big shows and big jobs that you're capable of working hard. Because what will happen, and it happens every time, is about 6 months into it, when they trust you, they will say, let's give that kid a shot. Oh, we're shooting something on the weekend? Let's let him do it, and let's give him a camera and give him a chance. And then all of a sudden, you as who you were back home and who you are in LA starts to even out a little bit. Yes. And then the next thing you know, you're being asked by someone on the weekend, shoot that project. Maybe that project gets picked up or gets distributed. And all of a sudden, you have a real credit in LA, and you didn't even go to college. And now you're working. Now you're
in the machine. Welcome to the machine of Los Angeles.
And then no vacations. Say goodbye to your vacations. And you know those, like, fun little things you do on the weekend, or like the weddings you get invited to? Say goodbye to those, because 25 years will pass and you will be like, I haven't stopped working. I can't believe this.
But you've had so many awesome experiences. So as far as young folks and telling them, you know, go be an intern, like they were hotshot in their town, they come to LA, but they don't necessarily want to start as a PA because they think that they've already made it. Why do you think that is?
Well, I was telling somebody earlier, I love these studios. They're really, really cool. When I was in my early 20s, I had a public access show because there was no such thing as the internet. No, but there was no such thing as doing this kind of thing. And so you get this ego of, like, look what I did, look what I can create, look what I can make. And I don't want to be told by the old people who have been doing it forever that I have to make my show look like a Disney show, or I have to make my show look like a network show. I want to be a renegade. I want to be that guy. And what I tell those people is, because the truth is, you can do that. But as long as you're calling yourself a director. So if I met you on the street and I said, what do you do? I said, well, I just moved to LA. I'm a director of my own shorts, and I'm working on Modern Family. Oh yeah, what do you do there? Oh, I'm a PA. That's awesome, man. So what about these shorts that you're doing? So as long as you're balancing the who you are and what you believe in as a filmmaker, whether it's a production designer or a director, and doing your own thing on the weekends and at nights and staying up late and doing them with your friends, but also working within the industry to learn what a grip does, what the craft service person does, what budgets are. You know, the issue about being your own person and your own director is nobody's giving you notes. So you're making this cool indie short that's 20 minutes long and you do it on the weekend. You're the boss. No one is giving you notes. No one is telling you no. There's a real value in working on a TV show and being told, that's not right, we want it this way. Here's some notes, and being able to digest them, process them, and make them good. And then that, in turn, influences your own work and makes what you do in the future so much better.
And exactly what you were saying, where it will eventually even out.
It does, and I can tell you dozens and dozens of examples of, like, if there's anybody listening or watching this saying, like, well, I live in Kansas and I love shooting my own stuff and my family loves it, but I can never make it in LA. I can give you dozens of examples of people that I have met because those people reached out to me and I said, meet this person, talk to this person, do this, and they are currently in the union working on television shows and movies, and whether they're department heads or whatever they're doing, they just decided to do it. You know what I mean?
And a lot of it, I think, is definitely vocalizing and visualizing what it is you want to do. So you are what you tell people you are.
And what happens to a lot of people too is I see it all the time. They want to be a director or a costume designer or a producer or a writer. They move to LA, they get a job as a PA, and then for some reason they sort of stall. That's it. And I always tell people, like, you really shouldn't be a PA for more than 2 times in your career. You should be a PA to learn. The second time you're a PA, you're sort of figured out, like, I'm going to be a PA on the show and I'm going to move up.
Yep.
No matter what, I'm moving up. I'm not going to be a PA anymore. And then you move into production management, being an APOC, working in the costumes department, whatever you're doing. You need to dive in, but have your eye on the prize of who am I going to be in 5 years? Who on this crew, whose job do I want?
Yes.
That's your goal. That's what I think.
And then you find that person and you learn from them.
And everybody wants to mentor.
Everyone
You'd be
wants
so
to.
surprised. It's not as scary as you think. Everybody my age who has been doing it for as long as I have is so eager to mentor people that are getting in the industry. And the simple reason is because I didn't know anybody in the industry. My family didn't know anybody. I moved to New York. I was in art school studying fine arts. And the next thing you know, I was doing this. And if it weren't for the mentors and the people that took me out to dinner and told me what I was doing wrong and helping me when I was in my early 20s, there's absolutely no way I'd be sitting on Popcorn Talk with you.
With me, welcome. Oh my gosh, you've made it.
I've made it, and the popcorn is still good.
Then, so like you're saying, like people.
Wow, every time I say popcorn in the studio, do
We
I need
love
to
it.
throw this out to people?
Go
Like
ahead
this?
to the audience. They love it.
Yeah.
They love it out there.
There's 2 sad people sitting in a chair right there.
Those are your friends.
They are. They're not even clapping. You know, they're on their phones the whole time.
Oh my gosh, they're taking pictures of you. They're taking pictures of you. So then my next question for you is, so people, you're saying like when you're in your 20s, or you just like come out here and start, but what if your 20s you spent kind of stuck in being a PA or stuck, and now you're in your 30s, and you're like, okay, I think I want to do this. Can they still move up and do the same thing?
Well,
Or
there
they're
is,
judged
I'll be
for being
honest with you,
older?
there is a little bit of ageism where it's like the first reaction that people will have is, well, why are you just figuring this out now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also when you get in your 30s, listen, production hours are brutal.
They are no joke.
Like your call time is 7 a.m. You get off set at 8:30. You're commuting home. You're going to bed, and then the next morning, your call time is 7 a.m. again, and you're doing that day after day, and then it starts to shift to nights. And by Friday, you're wrapping at 2 a.m. Then you're back on set at 7. So by the time you're in your 30s, very often people are in relationships. Maybe they're getting married. They're like, gee, why don't I own a house yet? Where's my kid?
Yes.
All of that stuff starts to creep in. And so you get to the point where maybe production hours aren't the best for you. Maybe I want to go a corporate route. So I've seen people, and by the way, I'm not discouraging anyone
Yeah.
not in their 20s from like jumping in and being a PA and moving up. But there are other options for people. I've seen just as many people that I've discussed with you today go more into the corporate side, where they're like a agent's assistant.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, they are in development at a network. And the next thing you know, they were an intern 3 years ago, and now they're showing up in their Audi and sitting in the director's chair and eating all the good craft service while I'm still, sweating with my crew on set. And it's like, wow, look at that person. They're now the head of development at Showtime. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
so many
5
routes
years
you can
ago,
go.
there's so many routes you can go.
I love
I
that.
always look at it like there's a difference between people who like to be sweaty and gross and wearing black clothes and sort of like cantankerous that are on set, and then the executives who show up in their fancy cars and eat the craft service and sit in the director's chairs and wear nice clothes. Like
Yes.
there's 2 ways you can go. Now I'm choking on the popcorn.
Yeah, because you're like, I didn't get to wear a pretty suit just to work today.
Okay.
Awesome. So speaking of different routes that things can happen, as far as we learned about career routes, I want to know exactly about production timelines. So like in your job, different routes that things can happen. So we were talking before the show, when you get a production designer job, you typically will get a script, right? And then after that, you have to download it and design it. So we had from your Instagram a timeline of sketch to screen for a piece from Key and Peele.
Okay.
So let's talk about that one. So it's a Superman bed
Oh, okay.
that
Yes.
they
So
have.
that was sort of season 3 of Key and Peele. And like I said before, when you watch Key and Peele, we shot 2 sketches a day. So when you in the morning see aerobics workout and then you see Obama in the afternoon, that's 1 day's worth of work, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we're doing multiple sketches all throughout Los Angeles, on sound stages, on location. And the Superman bed, there's my sketch in the moleskin. So the way that comes together is we're scouting. We're talking about the sketch. We're talking about the sketch that's coming up where Wendell is in his Superman bed and he's calling someone. And I have a brief window to sort of like sketch something really fast, shove it in the director's face, shove it in Jordan Keegan's face and the showrunners and say, this is sort of what I'm thinking. Is this what you're thinking? Good. You like it? Great. Now I consider that an approval. So now I'm doing a render, figuring it out sort of architecturally. I'm getting the set deck department involved in how the room will be dressed. I'm talking to locations, and locations is finding a location that we will shoot that in, and we shot that in a sound stage called Riverfront over in East LA. I'm talking to the producer about how much this Superman bed is going to cost, and then, you know, if I'm lucky, I'm thinking about once I build it, how the heck am I going to get it into the set? How does it fit through the door and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
So the drawings then move on to renders, and then the renders help everybody know what we're going to do, sort of SketchUp renders.
And renders are going to be, like, are they computer generated?
Yeah, they're computer generated SketchUp full color renders, which allows the construction department to build the set decoration department know where the shelves are and things like that. It allows the shop that's building the Superman bed to bid it out and say that it's going to cost like $6,000 to build that. The Universal did our all the custom bedding that looks like Superman, so you have to design all the pillowcases and all that kind of stuff, and that needs to get a bid. You need to, you're handing that to your producer and saying, I know that our budget per sketch is like $3,500. However, look how amazing this is going to be. I've already showed it to Jordan Keegan. They love it. We got to find the money for it. And so you sort of sit in their office and you beg and you plead, you get a little angry, and somehow they magically find the money, and now you're off and running, you're building it, you're loading it into set, and you're shooting it. Now the real tragedy behind that, so there it is, unlit, before Jordan is sitting on it. If you notice, it's cracked in the middle because the character he's playing is heavy, so he broke his bed. We got permission because another major element of art, going back to what we were saying before about people doing their own things, is a major issue in the art department is clearances. We have to get permission to do everything. So like when you see a painting or a magazine or a logo or a word or a font or anything on a television show or movie, it has to be cleared. And we have to get permission to use it. So we have to get permission to depict Superman in that way and to show the headboard and to have the colors in that way. And once we got permission, we ran with it. And there's Wendell Jordan in his fat suit in the Superman bed. And another big tragedy about working in the art department is that, so we shot that, wrapped it at 12:01, went to lunch. By 1 o'clock, it was on a truck. I'm calling the producer saying, what should we do with the Superman bed? Well, we're never going to use it again. Should we store it? It costs too much to store it, and it went in the garbage.
Oh.
So that's the other thing you have
So
to get used to
heartbreaking.
about like your passion and your art and the
Your
creation of
work
all
is
this work
disposable.
is that it ends up in dumpsters or stored in some awful warehouse.
But
in North
immortalized
LA.
on the internet.
But immortalized on the internet, yes.
Yes, so
Yeah.
at least you have that.
Everyone says, oh, you should have kept that. I'm like, where am I going to put
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Like for years and years, like an entire career of stuff, where are you going to keep this warehouse in Los Angeles? And, at least like I think about that with theater sets, because I started in college in theater, and you have to work on stage and off stage, like building sets and all that. And we would build these like really amazing things, and then they would just go away.
Yeah.
And it was a stage production, so it's not even, you might not even have
Right,
photos of
yeah,
it.
just the
It's
people that sat in the
gone.
audience
You're
sat
like,
it,
oh,
yeah,
well, I guess
wow.
I'll paint another flat.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to like let go of, you have to let go of projects. I work on projects that get canceled all the time. Downward Dog was canceled.
Yeah. Oh, it's
And
unfortunate.
they're trying to make it happen still. But,
Yeah.
you really become part of the family. when you get that script and you read that script and you come up with the world and you decide what the colors are and what the sets are going to be and everyone loves it, and you spend 70 hours a week with this family, with this crew away from your people, and then the show goes away and it gets edited and then it premieres and you're so proud of it and you're telling all your friends and you're putting it on Facebook, and then people write crappy stuff on it on Facebook or Variety, or it gets a bad review, or your uncle's, not my uncle, but somebody's uncle says like, I watched your show. Not too funny, is it? Or just something terrible. People don't realize that was a year of your life. And then it gets canceled and you go on Deadline and these people write the worst. If you want to feel really bad about yourself, announce one of your projects on Deadline and it's dozens of people saying, looks like a winner. I won't be watching that. Another failure. Canceled in 3 episodes. And you're like, you don't understand. I just put a year into this, and it's actually good. You need to give it a chance.
Yes.
So, there's also a lot of that emotion that even after 20-some years of doing this, I still haven't let go of.
Right.
Because they're like babies, each one of these shows.
Yeah, and it's like, you feel like that because it's not even just the project, but all the people that you've brought in, that you've hired, and they're like, their
and
livelihood
believed in it, livelihood, and we believed
families,
in
their
it.
kids, you're growing. Yes, it's your art that you collaboratively worked on, and then it's gone. And
yeah,
it's heartbreaking.
Is
it's
this water? Or
but there's always a new one.
No.
You can have more popcorn.
See, that's good.
They're good with the sound effects in there today. Awesome. Well, then as far as your production timeline for this, so this Key and Peele one with the bed, how long did that take from when they gave you the scripts to it being shot?
So we were doing 86, we were prepping 86 sketches at one time because we shot an entire season of Key and Peele in 7 weeks.
So much. And it's a sketch show, so it's you're not repeating sets at all.
So in one day, you're scouting, budgeting, designing, building, prepping, and striking probably 14 sets at one time.
Yes, and so are you contracting those out to different houses, like fabrication houses?
Yeah,
around
so
town?
union houses. That's another thing too. Is when you get into the world of working on everything that people want to work on is union, whether it's film or television or even streaming. So you're making sure to use union houses and making sure that your vendors are union, and so you're starting your morning in North Hollywood, then you're driving over to Sony, then you're driving over to your vendor in Glassell Park, then there's a production meeting downtown, then you're driving to Woodland Hills. Now, for people that don't live in LA, that you need
over
you need a
world.
helicopter for that.
Yes.
But you're doing that to make sure that you're checking on every single aspect of your job and showing your face and checking in. And very often people make jokes about the art department. It's like they're never on set. Well, the reason they're not on set is because they're building and preparing what you're going to be walking onto tomorrow and the next day.
Yes,
that
they're not
day.
chilling at home.
They're not chilling at home. That set that you love? Well, we were doing that yesterday while you were across town. So that's sort of the lifestyle of the art department. They're always on trucks. They're always shopping. They're always building. They're always prepping and striking way before or way after the shooting crew, is on location.
Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time in Home Depot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of time spent in home. Me personally, I don't. I don't spend time
but
in
your
Home
team
Depot.
does.
But yeah, the construction department, like JB, who's on a lot of the shows that I do, and our entire construction department, they're always at Home Depot. And don't forget, producers and directors and writers and showrunners are always asking for last minute stuff. There's a lot of walking onto set and saying, wouldn't it be cool if we had meanwhile we don't, and it's shooting in an hour, so it's running to Home Depot.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a wonderful little tip, if you guys are making things now, Home Depot has an app where you can just search for things, because I was walking around looking for something for some shoot, and I was like, I don't know where this is, and Home Depot people don't talk to you.
So you build sets too?
Yeah.
So
I work a little bit on everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
but
just why I like this.
That's really smart too. It's like if you move to LA or move to New York or even in your hometown, doing a little bit of everything, I think is really important. I've always tried to do that, work on a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And for me, I enjoy it because I consider myself a producer. So then with this, when I'm doing small content or I'm hired on to larger projects, I can have a little bit of understanding of everything.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So you're to show people at home, if you're at a party and I came up to you, oh, nice to Mary Lou. I love that name. Great name. What do you do in LA?
I'm a digital content producer.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, so I will produce photos or video for brands or for different companies or web series and things like that. And I also host a show on the fly filmmaking here at Popcorn Talk.
Wow, and the audience loves it. So that proves my point. That shows for everybody watching this, wondering how to move to LA or how to move to New York. I think the biggest thing you can learn about how to be someone in a town like this is to figure out how to answer the question, what do you do? Because I cannot tell you, so many people, I meet them and it's like, oh, what do you do? And they're like, well, I really want to be a writer, but right now I'm working at the supermarket and, it's really hard and everybody here is a writer and I don't really know how to do that. But at some point I am going to write my own thing. And by the time you've done that, the person you're talking to is gone.
Yes.
Maybe they haven't walked away, but they're not interested in you. If you confidently are shooting your own projects and you tell someone at a party or a barbecue or at the supermarket or a relative who calls you up and tries to get you like, oh, why did you move to LA? You're never going to make it. If you can confidently tell people, yeah, I'm a director. And they're like, oh, really? And you're like, yeah, I'm directing 2 shorts and I'm also working on, I'm working on Arrested Development as a PA. They're like, oh, you're legit. You're cool. You should meet my friend because he's a writer and the two of you would hit it off. That's how it happens.
Yes, definitely. And I've had that happen to me because when I first moved to LA, I came to be an actor. Like it didn't fit. So people were like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I want to act. And then for me, knowing I am a decisive person, I knew that wasn't exactly where I fit.
Right.
Because
it's
I
okay
couldn't
to
say
change.
like, you can change your major.
Yeah, because people do this. You say, well, I'm an actor. And they're like, oh, what are you working on? And you're like, oh, well, I'm taking acting classes or, and already you've lost them. But if you're like, well, actually, I just wrote my own screenplay and we're shooting it this weekend and we're submitting it to 3 festivals and I have a content producer who's going to do a big premiere for it in 2 months. You've either shut that person up because they're negative or you've enlightened that person who can then say, you should meet my friend who does PR. His name is Andrew.
Yes.
And he has a company and he'll help you launch that premiere. Let me get your Facebook and we'll hook the 2 of you together.
Yeah.
See how
it's so great. And then and even in the world that we're in now with the internet and being able to put your art out there, you can accessibly make your own content while still working on the professional level.
absolutely. Do you know how many going back to Instagram sketch comedy accounts that I follow? And it's 3 friends anywhere in the country, shooting their own things, uploading these little 45-second things, and they're hilarious.
Yes.
And they're great. And after doing it a while, they're probably going to screen it somewhere and someone might notice it.
Yeah.
And if they don't notice it yet, maybe one of those people is working on a TV show where they can hand it off to someone who will like it. And maybe those people won't be the next Key and Peele, but they might be a writer or a producer or if nothing else, they'll have a respect for the process of the creation of film and TV because they saw how hard it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So give a shout out to some of those accounts that you follow if you remember their names.
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot. I'm gonna have to look.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look.
You tell me afterwards.
Yeah,
and I'll
I
put
will
them
tell
in
you.
the comments.
I will tell you, and I will tell you. Lately I've been following. Well, one that you're not gonna believe. You know who Pat Benatar is?
Yeah.
So her daughter, Hannah, has a Instagram account that has dozens of these hilarious 45-second relationship sketches of like he said, she said, or like the guy is a total goof and she's calling him on it. And it looks like they shot it in an afternoon and they uploaded it to Instagram and tens of thousands of people are liking it and watching it and laughing. And I'm like, good for her. Mom's famous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for doing her own thing. And here's the daughter who's saying, I live in LA, I know all these people, and I'm gonna make my art and do my own thing and be hilarious and not be judged for it and just have fun.
That's great. And I really think that you should be doing that, and especially with social media, and you want to work in entertainment, you want to work in production, whatever it is that you do, you can just go do it at your level. And you do it, you get better, you learn more, and then you're visible.
And you might learn that you hate it.
Yeah, you might be like,
I
forget
hate this. I need a full-time job with a 401k and benefits and 4 weeks vacation a year, and I want to buy a house and get the heck out of LA. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you could do that too. It's okay.
That's fine.
It's fine as long as you did it. Because what you don't want to be is someone who said, I should have moved to LA, or I should have finished that screenplay, or I should have written that, or I should have directed that short that weekend when somebody offered. You just have to do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Succeed or fail, you have to do it.
Succeed or fail. There's nothing worse than being at that birthday party and people saying, so how's LA going? Do you know? And you're like, well, it's really tough, and I haven't really met anyone, and I'm not doing my thing, but, it's hard out there, and it's so competitive. I always tell people you should love the fact that Hollywood is a industry town, and that everybody that works at Ralph's or everybody that works at Home Depot has a screenplay. That's awesome. That means you're in the right place. And that means that that person could be the next whomever, overnight success.
And there's room for everyone to succeed. Like if you
Absolutely.
work for it, that there's enough out there, there's enough audience for everyone to.
And going back to what I said before, I didn't know any of this. Until the age of 22, 21, I didn't know any of this existed. I thought that I was going to be an illustrator with a portfolio like in Mad Men, doing little, paintings in a loft downtown if I was lucky. I didn't even know any of this existed. So I think if you already pay attention to the credits at the end of a movie or a TV show, you already know that every single one of those credits are union jobs, that people have 401ks and pensions and job security, and it's an industry for you, whether you're an electrician or if you are a contractor, or if you're interested in mechanics or anything. All those jobs exist. And let's say you're a driver.
Jobs.
Let's say you like to drive cars. You could go into the transport department. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of opportunity in production, not just art department.
Yeah, and people like you were telling your story about your parents saying like you got to go get a real job. Well, you did.
Yes.
You did.
Yeah, and
just
it's
wasn't-
sad though, because I actually meet a lot of young people who don't grow up around anybody in the entertainment industry, and they get a lot of pressure from family and friends saying that that's not real work, and you need to get a real job, and you're just dreaming, and when you're going to wake up. My guidance counselor in high school wouldn't even send my application to school of visual arts, because she said, well, you should go to a state school and major in this and minor in the arts just so you can get it out of your system. So like even at the guidance counselor level, people are getting this notion that working in the arts is somehow not real. Yet those are the same people that are going to see Wonder Woman every weekend, or going home and watching Game of Thrones. And it's like, well, how the heck do you think that got made?
I think
Who
about that
made
all
that?
the time for the people who are naysayers on what the entertainment industry, like not being a real job, not being a real career path. They're the ones that are enjoying our work the most.
Oh my goodness, they're buying the popcorn.
Yep.
They're buying the tickets.
You're
they're
going to the Comic-Con and buying all the figurines.
Yeah. Well, the Comic-Con people though, they get it.
Yeah.
But I think that the sort of like, when you're going to get a real job types have never looked at the credits on a show and realized that those are all union jobs with a minimum pay, and like you could and should. I feel like you could and should do that, even if you have the slightest interest. You should try it out.
Yes, you should definitely do it. So good, great advice. I want to get into production triumphs and fails. And we were talking about one for you earlier from a Key and Peele one again.
Right.
That we pulled up on your Instagram. They'll pull that up on the
goodness.
screen.
Okay.
But tell us about that. There was something with a wrecking ball.
Right. Well, I don't want you to think that every single thing that I've failed on or had failures on is Key and Peele.
No, we've got lots of other ones. It's
But
just the ones-
so many failures.
Yes.
But when you mentioned that to me, I immediately thought of this sketch where we were shooting in a high school theater, and Jordan once again was giving a speech on a stage, and at the end of the sketch, a wrecking ball swings out from the ceiling and smashes into him and hurls him across the stage. And that's directly from my Instagram. So on the left, what you see there is, again, me with my moleskin on a Scout, the director saying we want a massive wrecking ball flying in, and that's me sketching it, showing it to him. He goes, yes, that's exactly what I want it to look like. And from that, like the process before, making it, figuring out how big it's going to be, what the materials are made of, how the vendor is going to make it. So that wrecking ball was stuffed all with foam, right? And it was skinned with a latex. And then Tony Egan, the best scenic painter in all of Hollywood, spent days aging it to make it look rusty and aged and textured and all this kind of stuff. We go on our tech scouts. We do all our recon that we have to do to make sure that this set is going to be great. That shot was scheduled for the evening, and they were shooting across the property, shooting another sketch, and the truck shows up, and wow, everybody, this looks so good. We're so excited. Meanwhile, none of us in any of the art departments or the grip department or anything looked to see if there was like a loading garage or a doorway that could fit this awesome wrecking ball. So there was 8 grown men and women sweating, trying to push this through a doorway. And that's like 6 feet wide, pushing it through a doorway and saying, this isn't gonna work. What are we gonna do? We have to tell someone. And I'm like, do not tell anyone. No one in production is allowed to know that this is happening right now. It's gonna make us look stupid. It's gonna turn into a big nightmare. And I'm never gonna hear the end of it, and I'm gonna be mortified.
Yeah, we'll make it in.
So like an orange, we took a razor blade to it and peeled it like an orange, peeled all the rubber back, took the foam out, cut the foam into pieces like an orange, brought it through the door, put it back together, used hot glue to put it to, Tony was there painting the seams, strung it up to the ceiling, and at that moment you hear on the walkie, all right, we're moving on. And 10 minutes later, they were in that room shooting that sketch and rehearsing with that very picture. And the reason I took that picture is because that was 10 minutes after it was like in 100 pieces on the floor.
That's great.
Yeah, so that is a fail/triumph.
On the fly.
That is
came
on
up with
the
the
fly.
solution.
And that like is a good thing. It's like there's a time to tell production, because they should get a heads up that they're going to be held up. And there's a time where it's like, let's keep this in our department, figure out a solution, and not tell everyone. Now I'm telling you.
Yes.
But
because it succeeded, you finished it.
Exactly.
Yes.
It was a triumph fail for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was good. You figured out a solution and problem solving.
Yeah.
All of it's like, so much of production is like, well, let's figure it out as we go.
There's no rules. I mean, even like within departments, I always like say like other departments have everything they need on their truck. So if someone says, can we get a flag? Can we get a light? Can we get a cord? It's on the truck. For the art department, nothing exists. Nothing is on the truck. It's all
somewhere in a
found,
thrift
built,
store or
made, and then even when you get it at the thrift store, you have to age it and change it around to work for camera and age it down and make sure it's cleared and all that. So everything that the art department does didn't exist before they did it. Everything.
Yes.
Even the walls, like everything that you can imagine
doesn't exist. Yeah, I remember I used to do a lot of 48-hour film festivals, and I would like be the one that I'm like, okay, we need an hourglass, we need a police station, we have an apartment, like what? Okay, so I like pulling all these things and printing stuff out the internet, finding like old looking frames. Like I made a bedroom look like a police station. It's a very simple police station, but
but that's okay.
Make it happen.
One of the things that I advise myself all the time to do, and like young people who are always like, well, how can I make something look great if I don't have a budget? You have to be really clear with drawings and storyboards with your director and your DP as to what they are going to see. So you're not overbuilding, you're not building twice the amount of set that they're going to shoot, or you're not trying to be a hero and design this big set that you can't afford, and then it looks sparse. So if you're on a scout, and I always make sure that I interrupt everyone and say, okay, what are we going to see in here? Is this a fourth wall? Are we going to see the ceiling? Are we going to see the floor? Oh, we're just seeing that wall.
Oh,
so you're serious with me? We're just seeing that wall. So then I draw it out in my moleskin. Okay, here's the wall. Here's the chair. Here's the bed. Here's the window. You're just seeing that. Do we want to return? No return. It's straight off lock off shot. Okay, that's what you build and that's what you dress.
Yes.
Now you always come with an extra painting or an extra piece of fabric or a curtain, because inevitably every DP, no matter who they are, and every director in the history of production has walked on set and they go, oh, but we want to turn the camera this way. And you say, well, on the scout, you said, oh, no. It was always the plan to shoot this 360. And you want to pull your hair out because it was 12 hours ago where they said they don't need it.
Yes.
Everybody does it. It happened to me today, hours before I got here. But that's why you're like, well, you know what? I have a curtain and we have a tree and we have a roll of carpet. We're going to throw it in there. We're going to make it look great. And then you're the hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. And on projects that I've been on where something like that happens, I'm like, okay, let me just do a loop around this place that we're shooting. And I'm like, okay, they don't mind if we use this.
I still do that to every day, to every single set to this day. I scour the location if we're on location, and I sort of like borrow some stuff that they have, the water cooler or the
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and that's something that I noticed from your some of your set photos, like so with the Downward Dog, Just Add Magic, and Workaholics, like very detailed, like very alive. Like The Office and Downward Dog, you know, it looks very alive. The Workaholics one, there's a lot going on there. And Just Add Magic, I think we had a photo of the store.
Right, Mama P's store.
It's just like very full and alive, and that's all part of your design, or is
Yeah,
that going
so
to
it's
set
funny you mentioned
dressing?
all three of those shows: Workaholics, Downward Dog, Just Add Magic. All three were shows that could have looked like whatever. So there weren't any expectations for a primetime show about a talking dog as far as it looked on ABC. For a kid show on Amazon, there wasn't an expectation of, you know, kid shows look like kid shows. Workaholics, it's some guys that work in an office and, you know, they don't have much money, so there weren't the expectations. So what I love about my team and my set decorators and the energy that we bring to it is we go, let's redefine these genres. Let's go crazy. Let's not sleep, and let's make sure that we are treating it, whether it's a primetime network show, which has a certain look that we're not crazy about, or it's a kid's show on Amazon, let's treat them like they're cinema. Let's treat them like they're indie films. So Downward Dog, I approached, and the team approached as if it was an indie film from the 90s.
Yeah.
And we made sure that texturally all the colors and the lighting and the set dressing and the layers and the aging all felt sort of documentary style almost. Key and Peele, Just Add Magic, kids show, no bright colors, no major contrast. Everything is aged. Everything is coming from a real place. And people are like, well, but it's a kid show. It doesn't need to. Yes, that's our aesthetic, and that's the way we're doing it. Workaholics, everything that you see on Workaholics was, you know, like the set decorator and art director on that show, Julie Drock and Bianca Farrow. Both people, we're all just like film nerds. So we're like, even though we're doing a Comedy Central show about three doofuses working in an office, let's treat it like it's cinema. Let's treat it like it's film. So when you watch those shows, there's a branding that we like to do that is basically us saying, we know what people expect. Let's take it 10 times further than what people expect.
Yeah.
And then they walk on set, the executives and stuff, they're like, wow, this looks so good. It looks like a feature. It's like, we know.
Yeah.
And they're like, where did the money come? And they're like, there wasn't any extra money. We just approached it not as a throwaway, but as if we were doing a $100 million feature film. Like we were doing Harry Potter. You know, we approach Just Add Magic like we're doing Harry Potter every single set.
Yeah, and it looks so good.
Yeah.
It really adds
Thank
something
you.
to that.
Yeah.
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 I like that. So is there a project that you've done in your career that you're like, man, that is my favorite? That's
Well,
like
Key
the
and
best
Peele
one."
will always be. Key and
Is there like a
Peele was
specific set in there, or
every
just the fact
single.
that it changes all the time?
Well, Key and Peele was every single genre in every single time in history.
yeah, we have one where they were like pirates, and
Yeah,
then
the
they're
pirates, and you know the pirates. Quickly, I'll tell you quickly about pirates. That sort of surmises everything we've talked about today. Is that we're doing all those sketches and we're working our tail off, and it's coming to the end of the 7 weeks. And on that 7th week, we were scheduled to do the pirates sketch, and by then everybody is exhausted, and production meetings are a distant memory, and the tech scouts were weeks ago. Yet we have this major sketch coming up called Pirate Shanty, which is a musical that takes place on like a Pirates of the Caribbean ship, and there's people flying from the sky, and there's music, and there's costumes. Well, nobody in any of the departments, Beth Morgan in costumes and Peter Atencio, our director, had a lot of time to like sit down and like, let's look at drawings and let's really make sure that we're all on the same page. Well, Peter was, because he's the director, and he knows that his team is going to pull it off. But speaking for myself, I know that like there wasn't a lot of time to really map that out. And so we get to the location where we're shooting, which is just sort of a restaurant, and we've got trucks of set dressing, and the crew is showing up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and our department is there at 4 a.m., and we have 3 hours to dress it and build it and set deck it and make it perfect for crew, and the doors are locked. And we couldn't get locations on the phone. or maybe we were there too early. I can't even remember. Maybe we were supposed to be there at 5, but we got there an hour early. And so we broke in. Oops, we broke the lock because we had to do it. We apologized later. Again, I probably shouldn't be telling you that, but we did. We broke in. And we had 3 hours. We built that whole pirate shanty set that you see there with all the layer and the detail and the barrels and the texture and the aging, and the painter is doing all this stuff. At 9 o'clock, cameras are up, and that picture you're looking at there was on the monitor. And you can imagine the director, Charles Papert, the cinematographer, and Beth costumes, and the grips and the prop master are all standing at the monitor looking at that shot saying, look what we did.
Yes, it looks
oh
so
my
good.
God, we are such a well-oiled machine. Like, we are like the Beatles. How this is amazing. How did we pull this off? And the reason we pulled it off is because we knew what each other would bring, and that would be the A game. And
Yes.
sadly, this series ended like a couple weeks later, and like we went out, I feel like we went out on that sketch, and when people hear the story that there wasn't more budget or more time for that sketch, it just was yet another one, but we pulled that off. I think that is what I'm most proud of, is the ability to, on the fly, just make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing
yeah.
that. Even
Yeah.
though you
I'll
might
get
get
in trouble. I'll get in
but,
trouble.
You know,
Sorry.
it's out there now, and we're not condoning breaking into your locations when you show up too early.
Right, we're also not condoning not
But-
talking thoroughly with the other department heads. We're not, yeah.
You know.
Oops.
It's you know.
Get in trouble. Honestly, in production, sometimes you have to, keeping safety in mind, but sometimes you have to like get it done. And so breaking in to that location, I said, I'll take the blame. It'll be my fault. We'll buy them a new lock. It was a padlock, so it wasn't like we broke a window or anything. It was we cut a padlock. Oops.
Yes.
And I was fully prepared to be in trouble for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
No one
yeah.
was going to get hurt.
Right. You have to nobody. You're not putting someone in danger, and you know what the
It
repercussions.
was
could
4
be.
o'clock in the morning, and there were raccoons like sleeping outside, like chasing us. It was crazy.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So then let's wrap up with any other advice you might have to creators out there.
Oh.
You know, you've given a lot already as far as go try everything, be a PA, but any other kind of advice to somebody who's creating at home and they need to do some production design.
Yeah. Well, I think that the biggest comment I always get from people is, well, I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone in television, and I'm just doing this thing, and I like it, but I don't know who to show it to. I don't know who to share it with. And so I tell everybody that asks me that to one of the best resources for everybody that's free is called IMDb. So I tell everyone to think of your favorite shows. Oh, you like Game of Thrones? Oh, you like Breaking Bad? Oh, you know, whatever it is, you go on IMDb and you disregard those actors, disregard the writers. We don't care about them. We're going to scroll down to the other all cast and crew.
Yes.
And we're going to
Fun.
look at some of the people that are listed there, and those people are people just like you and me who are passionate about our work and who show up to work every day and are doing what maybe you want to do at home. And it's very easy to, you know, click on either the department head or maybe the assistant prop master or maybe the set decorator or maybe the PA on the show and find their email address. It's all very easy. Everybody knows how to do that. And send them an email and say, hi, my name is Susan. I live in Kansas. I shoot these videos. I'm a fan of your work. I love the shows that you work on. I don't know anyone in Hollywood, but I'd just be curious to pick your brain for a minute. Or if I'm ever in Hollywood, take you for a cup of coffee or come by for a set tour. I know that might sound like a lot, but I'm really interested in doing this as a career. And you'll find that maybe not everybody will write back, but the right people will write back to you or give you a call or shoot you something on Instagram. And the next thing you know, you, who are doing your things in the middle of nowhere that don't know anyone in entertainment, have a relationship with someone in LA and Hollywood or in New York or Toronto. And as long as you're not crazy and writing all the time, as long as you're professional and keeping in touch with them, I tell people, I don't have a job for you now, but keep in touch and send me your resume and let me know what you're doing. And I've had a dozen or so people over the last 5 or 6 years that I've mentored and helped get to the next level in the entertainment industry by doing that.
Wonderful. Reach out, make some connections, but keep making your work so you
Yeah.
have something to talk about.
Right, you have to have something to talk about.
You have something to talk about, you have something to show. You show that your passion is actually being approached in a way that is not just like, I wish. You know,
Right.
you're out there, you're doing things.
Yeah, there's no excuse for like, I don't know anyone. My parents don't want me to do this. I don't have any money. I'll never be able to do what I'm doing. You know, just do it. You know, have a screening at your house. You know, if you're making all these awesome Instagram videos or YouTube videos or whatever you're making and they're awesome sketches, compile them all, have a screening party at your house on a Friday night, project it on the wall, serve some popcorn and water maybe, I don't know, you know, and all of a sudden you're having a movie screening of your work, and all of a sudden everybody that shows up says, wow, you're a director, that's great. Like, you know, a lot of it is the satisfaction of having people acknowledge your work.
Yes, and thank you so much.
Wow.
We had a lot of applause today. A lot of applause today.
It's great. And look, it doesn't. Now they're standing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Gary, for joining us today. I think we've learned a lot about production design and production in general.
Yeah.
If you guys have any other questions, put them in the comments. Let us know. We'll Instagram message.
I'm always around. I'm always on set. I'm one of those people with my phone.
Yes. Awesome. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Instagram is Gary Kordan, and my website is garykordan.com. And and I'm always on it before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning.
Nice,
so,
and you can see his work all over.
Yeah,
everywhere.
I have Ghosted coming up October 1st on Fox, and I have Just Add Magic premiering next year, and and then you can always find everything else on Hulu's and YouTube's and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Mary Lou Mandel. You can find me all over the internet at Mary Lou Mandel, and we will see you next time on the Fly Filmmaking.
Great.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.